Transition assistance doesn't even want you to think about this one. Hey, I am Chuck the bureaucrat, and I argue that there is a secret military retirement track that Congress, the Department of Defense, even your service does not want you thinking about at all. You see, Congress requires your service to provide transition education on a whole host of topics like making a transition plan and education and vocational benefits and considerations for seeking employment and on and on. And while they do this, your service is supposed to filter you into a couple of different tracks. These include educational and vocational, employment, and entrepreneurship. But I was recently looking back at the career map that I use to counsel lieutenant colonels and majors, and I noticed something. We have a track called the Gentleman of Leisure. Basically, somebody who is not forced to work after their military retirement. Someone who has the freedom to pursue the activities that they personally value. Now, I'll be honest, part of the reason that I liked to put that track on the career planning guide was because when people saw it, they got excited. They started thinking about their career and their retirement in an entirely different light. Oftentimes, they started thinking about retirement in a much more intense way. In fact, it's that intensity, that excitement, that makes me think that the Gentleman of Leisure track is a legitimate track that transitioning service members should be thinking about. I mean, it is not a lot of fun thinking about resumes and application timelines and government contracting, but it is a lot of fun thinking about what you would do if you had control over your own life. Plus, let me offer 2 additional observations about the Gentleman of Leisure. Number 1, sooner or later, all of us are going to have to live our lives without employment. Maybe that's when we're old and gray, maybe it's when some illness surprises us, but it's the rare person who just passes away quietly while still working. So, if you're going to have to live this way eventually, then it makes sense to think about how you would live this way. And number 2, the fundamental tasks that a Gentleman of Leisure must perform in order to stay on that track, well, they're important tasks that you have to perform whether you're going to college or you're getting a job or you're starting your own company. These tasks are just as important no matter what track you follow, but there's a tendency to marginalize those core Gentleman of Leisure tasks when put in the context of the other tracks. You've probably heard me make the point that the Transition Assistance Program pushes the concept of employment because, well, if a vet has a job, that can make up for a myriad of other financial problems. So, what are the core tasks of the Gentleman of Leisure? Well, it's personal finances, 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 and personal finances. And I am not talking about complicated financial planning strategies. I'm talking about down and dirty, fundamental financial blocking and tackling. How much money is going to come in from DFAS, the VA, Social Security, FERS? Have you applied for everything that you're actually eligible for? Have you timed all these applications so that your lifestyle is actually sustainable? Then, how much money is going out? You want to work the big expenses: housing, utilities, car payments, insurance, including things like health and property, and of course the survivor benefit program. Are you getting good value for the things that you are buying? In fact, what about your smaller purchases? I mean, I will guarantee you that you have monthly subscriptions going out every month, and you don't even use them. The gentleman of leisure spots those sources of waste and he cuts them off. And then, what about those surprise expenses that seem to crop up every couple of months? Well, I'll tell you a little secret. Part of the reason that those expenses are surprises is because you're focused on something other than your personal finances. And when you put in the time and the effort to maintain the gentleman of leisure lifestyle, those surprises become pretty predictable. When you focus on your bottom line instead of the boss man's bottom line, you would be amazed what you can control. And look, I know that not everybody can retire into the gentleman of leisure lifestyle. This is especially true of folks who have like 3 kids still in high school. Sometimes the math just doesn't work out. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the math. So, how do you approach the gentleman of leisure lifestyle within the tracks that are provided for military transition? Well, one way that you can do it is to take the entrepreneur track, and every time they make a comment about your company, translate that through the lens of the business of you. The principles are the same, with the possible difference that the gentleman of leisure is much more discriminating about the customers that they work for and the services that they hire. Which, by the way, even if you are starting some new company, I would encourage you to really be careful about the customers that you're working with and that they can pay you the money you need and the services that you're purchasing. Now, this path does come with, warning is the wrong word. Maybe it's more of a proactive action that you have to take. You still want to have a high quality resume ready for use. Because here's the thing. A gentleman of leisure is not forced to work, but that does not mean that they don't want to work. And in particular, when you have the time to wait for just the right job, because you don't have to rush to accept the first job just to pay the bills. Well, when you have time to wait, then you can find some incredibly attractive gems. And then one final point about the name for this track that I've been using, the Gentleman of Leisure. You probably notice that it is highly gendered. In fact, some people have said that it's sexist. And the reason that I don't deal with this up front is because the feminized version of this, a lady of leisure, well, it kind of has a bad connotation. So, for female service members, you should explore this track, and when you refer to it, I would refer to it as a woman of means. Anyways, if you want to see how the services have been binning people into these tracks and what that may mean for your personal transition, watch this video.